Jason has traveled across the continent doing speeches, workshops, and media appearances. As a professional speaker, trainer, consultant, writer, and coach, Patricia is currently the instructor for Trauma Counseling Certificate Program at UW-Milwaukee's School of Continuing Education.
Patricia co-authored Speaking of Success with Jack Canfield, Stephen Covey, and Ken Blanchard. I cannot say all these big words. And so what do you do with Joel Comm? I know Joel Comm. I've been following him for a while. She is also the author of Claim Your Unlimited Potential, a 12-workbook series for focusing and accomplishing life goals. The Successful Life Basic Training is Patricia's digital program with the best of her over the last 40 years.
Right? There's a couple cameras in the way. So welcome, Patricia. It's so nice to finally have you on the show.
It's good to be here.
And yeah, it's just wonderful. Our question of the day was, what is out of balance in your life? And what can you do to fix it?
You're asking me about my life personally?
Sure.
That's
personal or your business life.
Or
yeah,
personal.
Whichever's coming to mind.
Yeah.
Well, actually, right now, there's not anything that's out of balance. I've been working very hard, especially over pandemic times, to figure out what I needed to be doing and what would be best for me. And when I listened to the folks that you were talking to earlier, what struck me was that most of us, when we think of balance, we think of it as even. We think of scales, and balance meaning both sides are the same. And one of the things that helped me figure out how to get rid of the stress in my life, or a lot of the stress, maybe not all, but most of the stress, was to recognize that the being all in on one thing for 3 hours does not mean I'm out of balance because I'm not also doing those other things. I don't do an equal amount, 25% of health, wealth, love, and creative self-expression, which I think are the 4 key things for life. I don't do 25% in each of those. It goes like this at different points in time. So I've really been doing a lot of work at practicing that when I'm supposed to be resting, I'm resting. When I'm being creative and writing or something like that, then I'm 100% in that, and everything else is just not there. And so so I'm not feeling out of alignment or out of sync, but I'm not equal balance. Does that make sense the way I described it?
Do you get like little nudges like, ooh, I should really be focusing more on this right now, or focusing more on this part? Yeah. Yeah,
I do. And one of the big things that helps me is, I call it the crunchies. When I find myself starting to have lack of patience with other people, or irritated because somebody did or didn't do something or whatever, and I get that crunchy feeling, to me, that is always a signal that I've allowed myself to not be taking care of myself, and I'm putting too much, I am out of balance in the sense of I'm just all over the place and I don't have clarity about what I'm doing, and that creates a lot of stress.
Right.
And then
go ahead.
I'm in a spiritual program, and when you get away from the meetings for a long time, they say you're getting a little crispy. So same thing, crunchy.
Crispy, crunchy.
Yeah, you need to get spiritually aligned in order to get away from the crispies.
That's what I was going to say.
And when I get those little inklings that you asked about, Tracy, I have a piece of paper always on my desk. I call it the parking lot. And I'll write down, remember to do this, or 2 words that say, this reminds me that I have to make those phone calls, or I have to work on that project, or there's a deadline coming up. So I write it down on my parking lot so that I'll remember it. And then I can go back 100% to what I was doing and finish that up. So I don't lose it.
Yep.
When you talked about not doing 25% of each, I heard it once described as seasons. Sometimes I'm in a season of doing a lot of work, and sometimes I'm in a season of doing a lot of family time. And so I thought that was very similar. So how long have you been working with all of these concepts that you teach?
Well over 40 years.
Oh my.
I am older than I think I look.
She started when she was 5.
Yes, I do say that sometimes. For a very, very long time.
And that's why you've really achieved that balance And I think we've got the perfect guest for a balanced show, don't we?
It does take time to do that. We have to explore and figure out what our needs are and what our own passions are and all of those kinds of things, because I can blend creative self-expression and my work together very easily, and then I get excited about doing my work, whatever it happens to be, because I am being creative and I am expressing myself.
Right. So why do you have basic training?
Because I believe the fundamentals are important. At one point, probably about 20 years into my career, I found myself thinking, why am I still teaching some of this stuff? This is all so basic. I need to go on to the next level.
Yeah, I've been there.
I needed to move on to another awareness, but a lot of the people I was working with still needed foundational skills. And there was an incident that happened in my life. I won't go into detail today, but it rocked my world. It shook my foundation. I questioned myself. Who am I and what am I doing? And is this the right thing to be doing? And am I really practicing what I teach and all that stuff? And what got me through that time was going back to the basics and practicing every single day, like your journal, John, that you talked about earlier. I had things, rituals, I call them, that focused me every single day, and gratitude and forgiveness and making sure I spent time on those things every day. And it took about a year. And one day toward the end of the year, I was walking into a room to do a presentation, and I heard this voice, really loud voice in my head that said, "I'm back." and what it was I finally felt after that time that I really was back. That I felt solid on my foundation and I could move forward. And so that was the beginning of my determination to pull it all together into a program that would be basic training. And the other reason basic is I work with veterans. And when you go into the military, you go through what some people call basic training. And it's a condensed, intense period of time where you build the foundation for that career of the military. And I think most people don't ever really build that solid foundation for their lives. They learn a little here and they learn a little there, but they don't have that foundation. And so that's why basic training.
Nice.
So you used to do this all in person, and now you've really shifted, to digital. Tell us a little bit about that transformation.
Well, it was an interesting process for me because it's very different talking to a camera, and making it all digital. What I needed to do was go through everything that I had and figure out what were the core principles, how would I best organize that, which had to come first, and then taking the different tools and how do I translate that into something that someone can do on their own or with a friend or a partner, which is a great way to do it, by the way, to then listen, read, practice, journal, all of those kinds of things. So it was first pulling all the content together and then, well, John, you know the story because you helped me do all that. Right. We spent hours and hours and hours in my offices recording the different workshops and sessions and turning them into the basic training.
So when you started doing that, did you have to document all of the things that you did in your in-person things in order to create these video content?
Yes, I did.
And then you put it all into video, turned it into a course, and so now you can offer your education to more than one person at a time. It's
awesome that it can be anywhere on the planet at any point in time, because being live requires me to be there, right? And so that's limited to X number of people in at one time. So I think that it's really cool that we have now the technology.
Yeah.
We didn't have that when I started doing what I do. And now we have the technology that it can go anywhere to anyone at any time. Although I think that having the blend of personal in-person interaction and the technology is the best route, which is why I said earlier, maybe do it with a friend or even a couple of friends to work together on that and have the conversations, just like you have the conversations at the beginning of the show. There's something that happens there that you don't get when you do it in isolation.
Right. Do you find that, like, from a financial aspect in your business, when you're doing one-on-one coaching with somebody and you're trading your time for money, doing the course obviously allows you to get to more people at one time. So there's an obvious financial boost. Like you can make a lot more money that way.
You can.
Yeah.
If you're willing to do all of the marketing and the promotion and all that kind of stuff, the important thing to understand is it doesn't happen all by itself. You know, that you need to have support, you need to have a system, you need to do the marketing to make that happen. But once that investment has been made, then the benefits of being able to get out to so many people at any time is financially wonderful, and it's also emotionally fulfilling. At least it is for me.
Yeah, because you're reaching so many more people.
You talked about a hybrid approach to learning, and I found that you know, there's been an evolution in online training over the past 10 to 15 years, and the past couple of years, I really see that a Zoom or in-person training to kind of teach the big concept, and then having that online seminar course or training as a support mechanism, so people can refer back to the places that they need, and people can get what they need. Because if there's 10 people in the room, there's 10 different paths in which they should follow, and so you can do the hierarchy in person and then have them pick and choose the things they need. And I think that's really where your course is. There's a lot of content.
There is.
But you don't use it all. You use the things that you need when you're in that season.
Right, when you need them in your life.
Yeah.
So there is a progression to the material if you want to follow that, but it doesn't have to happen that way in order to get the most out of the course. You just need to use what you want to use and what you have commitment to actually working with.
Right.
And that's the other thing. You know, there are so many people who buy online courses and never do anything with them.
Yeah.
You know, I think someone had a statistic about that I heard the other day, and it was really sad. It was a big number. But if people use them, if they take advantage of the fact that they have access to it at any point in time, even for a short refresher.
Do you find that some people don't want to stick through the course, like they drop off in the middle of the course? Have you figured out ways to keep them engaged during the whole process? I mean, I've never done courses, but I would think that this would happen.
It does happen, and having a Facebook group that they can engage in, having a once a month open coaching session that they can be a part of. There are lots of different ways to help give people that to stay engaged, that they have something they can look forward to that is interactive with other people.
Right.
So I think the reason a lot of folks fall away from programs is they aren't interacting with other people. And so that they're in isolation. And so something else gets their attention and they're gone.
Yeah.
But if there's other people there, and sometimes accountability partners too,
Right.
you know, that you can be in a group and you can ask someone to be your peer coach or your accountability partner. And then you're having someone to talk to specifically about that. And we all tend to follow through a little bit better if we have to report into someone because we want to show up well.
Yeah,
You know?
that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
I agree.
That's why John's wearing this fancy coat today.
I want to show up well.
You are, John. You definitely are.
Well, do we have any questions in the chat? I don't think we have any questions. Do we have any questions for Patricia today? Or does anybody want to jump online quick and ask a question? They're being pretty silent. They're being pretty
They
silent.
are.
But we do have a page on our website that has all your content information on there.
Great.
And then as soon as we have the show edited, we'll put your clip on that page also so that everybody can see you.
That would be
It'll
wonderful.
live forever on there, and people can reach out to you. Your LinkedIn account is there, and your information. So
Could I take a moment, since we have
Sure.
a moment or two, to make a plug for We Got Your Six, which is a program that's part of the Successful Living Basic Training. I do a lot of work with veterans. I've been doing veterans retreats since 1993, helping them to deal with the emotional wounds of war and military service. And one of the things we do with the Successful Living Basic Training is for every person who purchases a training, we give away 6 of them to veterans.
Wow.
And the phrase "we've got your six" refers to the clock. So noon or midnight is right in front of me. 6 is at my back. So when they say "got your six," it says "I've got your back. I'm here supporting you."
Oh.
And so how we're supporting the vets is giving them basic training for returning to civilian life through the Successful Living Basic Training Program.
Wow.
So folks can know that purchasing the program is also doing a lot of good for 6 other folks who are veterans who are looking to rebuild their lives when they return from service. And we have thousands of them returning right now. And with everything that's going on, there are going to be more going out and more coming back. And so we need to be there for them.
What a great service
That's great.
you provide. Yeah.
And how can they can go to your website for that?
It's on the successfulliving.basictraining.com website. It's information about the Got Your Six program.
Great.
So vets can apply there if they're interested in getting the program for free. And people who are buying a program will get to see what we're doing with We Got Your Six.
That's
Nice.
so wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Patricia. Really
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's good to be here. Meet you, Tracy.
I know.
Yeah.
In person for the first time, and to
Yep.
see you again, John.
It's great.
It's really does my heart good to know that despite the pandemic and all the things that our society has been through for the last few years, that this is happening and connecting people and helping people do their businesses. So thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks.
With that,
Off to commercial.
we have Kim.